Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to be paddling another state park. We'll be doing some fishing as well. I've got my ultralight and my BFS set up with me today. But today we are at Blue Springs State Park. I launched from the state park. I'll show you guys another launch area once we get up close to it. But yeah, just going to be launching here, paddling on down. I believe it's about maybe a mile and a half down the river I'm going, and we're going about a mile and a half back upriver. Thankfully, the way we're going into the current, or with the current, so it's a real easy paddle down, and the latter half will be a little bit more difficult getting back up, but we'll see what we can do. One thing you will need to be aware of while fishing this little area is that there are a lot of overhanging and low-hanging trees. So I did have my rods behind me, but I just pulled them out in front of me just because I know that we're gonna have some issues getting hung up if we don't do that. The water's so clear. I can see a few little like bait fish swimming around, like a few little minnows, but I'm not seeing any big fish yet, so I've only thrown my rod once just to make sure everything's all set up with it. But once we find some fish, we'll get back to recording. I have fished this state park before, and I'll be honest, like 9 times out of 10 you're not going to be able to really fish this state park super well, just because this park is super popular. It's really close to Orlando, so I assume a lot of people from the city come in and they'll rent kayaks and paddle here. There's a few kayak rental places along the stretch of springs, so it's super popular, and normally you're almost like head to toe with other kayaks in here, so you can't even really cast your rod until you get pretty far out into the springs. Today I've come on definitely an off day, so that's why it's so relaxing today. Plus we had a cold snap last night, so right now it's about 50 degrees or so. So it's a little chilly, especially for people who are used to the Orlando weather, but to me it feels lovely out here, and it's just it's going to be a really good peaceful paddle, I think. As for our setups, you can see we have 2 here. One is the ultralight. I don't have it rigged up with anything at the moment, and the others are BFS setup. On our BFS setup, we just have a little Z-Man, I think it's the Flashback mini 1/8 ounce Chatterbait. So we're going to be tossing it around a little bit. I may throw some gulp minnows on the ultralight because I have it rigged up with really tiny jig heads still. So that's what we'll be throwing and trying to hook into fish with. Here's a good example of these low overhanging branches here. One other thing to be aware of is this is a very shallow spring, so if you're coming in here with like a pedal drive kayak or something, just be aware of your surroundings, because you could hit some props on some trees that have fallen into the water. And also right now we only have about maybe 2.5 foot of water below us, so it's a really shallow spring right now. It opens up a little bit later, but just be aware if you're coming here with a larger kayak or something that sits a bit deeper in the water. If you don't know this about the Florida Springs, they are year-round about 70 degrees temperature-wise. So even though we did have that cold snap, I'm assuming it's not really going to affect the fish in this area, because it'll still be consistently about 70-degree water temperatures. A lot of manatees come into this area for the winter, so when it gets cold, they'll come in here and stay nice and warm for the winter before swimming back out after the cold has moved out. So one interesting fact about Florida Springs for you. think we got a fish. A real small fish. Nice. Get him in the boat. Just a little bluegill. So here he is, just a small little bluegill. Got him on the Z-Man Flashback Mini. Not a great fish, but a good way to break our skunk. So get him back out there and get to fishing. Today is such a lovely day to be on the water. I've not seen another like kayak or canoe or anything out here. Like I said, normally it's just packed to the brim with people. And this little channel is so small that it's like nearly impossible to fish on. I definitely think coming here when that little cold snap happened helped. So if you were to come fish this, I would probably recommend doing that around a cold snap or around maybe a holiday where like people are not going to be out on the water or anything. So this is my first time ever throwing one of these Z-Man micro chatterbaits, the Flashback Mini, and honestly I can say I'm pretty happy with it so far. It seems to be behaving the same as like one of the original chatterbaits would behave. And the trailer that it came with, I'm just using the little default trailer, seems to be doing its job pretty well. So overall, can't complain with that. Parts like this is where the channel can get a little difficult, especially with a ton of people fishing. You can see it's only maybe about, I don't know, 7-8 feet wide at the widest points up here and stuff. And when you have a lot of inexperienced peoples in kayaks and canoes, that can get really, really tricky. So especially if you're coming out here in the summer, something to be aware of. So just up ahead we have Wekiwa Island. It's probably the better location to launch from. A lot of people will launch from here, paddle up to Wekiwa Springs, and then kind of float back down. However, it is much more expensive to launch from here. I believe it's like on their weekend days, like $20 to launch a boat, and then also $20 to park. But they do have like a nice atmosphere there. Like if you want to get drinks, I think they have food, they have all sorts of stuff. It's kind of more of a party atmosphere there. Usually they have a lot of loud music going on and stuff like that. So just something to be aware of, that's also a good launch point. But it is more expensive than launching from Wekiwa Springs. So we're just now getting past Wekiwa Island. And in the past, I've had a lot more luck fishing out past the island and out past the springs than fishing in them. So we'll continue on this way and see if we can hook into a few more fish before turning around. I'm probably just going to cast a few more times and then I'm going to have to get out of here. I may cast a few times on the paddle back up, but I probably won't be doing much of anything just because I'll have to fight the current a little bit. But overall, a pretty poor day of fishing. We only got that one bluegill right at the start of everything. I've tried throwing a little bit of everything. I've tried, I'm throwing the Rooster tail right now. I've tried, after the Flashback Mini, I tried the regular micro Chatterbait. I threw a beetle spin for a little bit. I threw a Texas rigged worm for a little bit. Overall, just not having too much luck on anything today. I'm wondering if that cold front that did come through kind of affect the fish. It shouldn't have, since all the water here is kept pretty much at 70 degrees year round by the springs. So I wouldn't think it would affect them, but maybe it did, and maybe that's why we're having such a hard day of fishing. But yeah, anyway, I may record some of the paddle back on up, and I may hook into something while I'm going up, or I may not. We'll see. While I was paddling on up, we got us another fish here. Let's see. I'll be honest, I don't even think I know what this is. Just a little guy right here. Yeah, I'm honestly not too sure what he is. I'm gonna have to look him up, and maybe I'll add it to the video as to what he is. See here he is. Got a little blood on his mouth, getting the rooster tail out, but I'm honestly not too sure what he is. We'll toss him on back and get to paddling. Like I said, I'll put up whatever he is up in the video, but very odd fish to catch. Definitely, since it's warmed up, I've started seeing a lot more boats and kayakers and canoers coming through. Before this morning, when it was about 50 degrees, no one was out. I think it's warmed up to about 70 now. So yeah, I'm just gonna make my way back up to the springs now and see what we can do along the way. I'm probably not gonna be doing a lot of fishing just because I'm fighting the current and there's gonna be a lot more people out and about, but we'll see. Got another little fish on here. Looks like the tiniest of bluegills. There we go. Really small fish. There he is. So small. Back in the water. We caught him at just the Wekiwa Island here. So we just went up past the Wekiwa Island. I started my watch to start seeing how far of a distance we've come, and I will keep you guys updated on how far it is from Wekiwa Island into the springs. Since most people who paddle this, that's going to be the route that they take. Again, I'm probably going to do a little more fishing as I go along. We've got 3 fish today. Not a great day of fishing, but we'll continue on and see what we can do. Three turtles sitting on the log there. I'm back at the launch. I've seen a few fish hopping over here in the past, so I'm just gonna cast a few more times out here before calling it for today. Seems like the river has definitely gotten a lot more popular, and yeah, it is probably like 70 degrees now, so that could explain why it's gotten more popular. This morning when it was still like in the 50s, no one was out here and it was so peaceful. But yeah, definitely, if you're coming out here, make sure it's either cold or like a holiday where people won't be here or something, because otherwise this place is always packed with people. But it's a beautiful paddle. Probably wouldn't recommend it for fishing. Again, we only caught the 3 fish. I've caught a couple, like maybe 10-inch bass in here before, but I've never got anything huge, and almost the trouble of dealing with all the current and stuff and other people, and your rod's getting hung up on branches and all that is not worth the like quality of fish in here, if that makes any sense. But it's still an amazing paddle. If you love Florida wildlife, like, this would be a great place to go just to paddle out and have some fun. I'm going to do a quick voiceover outro for this video as well because I wanted to talk about the state park a little bit. At the time of recording, the entrance fee was $4 for a single person or $6 per car. And one thing you need to be aware of is if you are coming to the park to paddle and you have your own kayak, it's a long walk to the launch location. I'll throw in some clips of me walking into the launch, but be aware it's about a quarter or half-mile walk in. And then you definitely need some like form of wheels or maybe another person to help carry your kayak down. Also be aware that as you get closer to the water, the walk becomes a little sandy. So if you do have wheels, that can even make it difficult to get there easily. One thing to also be aware of is they do offer kayak and canoe rentals. It was $35 per kayak or $35 per canoe. So just keep that in mind. If you don't have your own canoe and you do want to come paddle this area, you still have that option. Otherwise, the state park is pretty standard for the Florida Springs State Parks. I'll throw in some clips of me driving through like the area and driving through the campsites, but they have your usual amenities and really good like walking/hiking trails and paved areas for bikes. Be aware though that the campsite does fill up fast and the whole park does as well. So if you plan on visiting, you definitely need to get there early or have a campsite reservation. You'll often see like cars lined up waiting to get in during the peak times of the park, and then they'll shut off the park usually by 10 o'clock, even if they open up at like 9. So that is something to be aware of, is that they do fill up fast. But the state park is definitely worth checking out if you're in the area. I'd highly recommend it, either staying there for camping or just coming in and renting a kayak for the day. It's definitely worth a visit. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.